We're back here on Broadway for the Magic of the Musicals 2008, and we're here with a big star. Karen Kiemba is here at Curtains at the moment. Thank you for talking to me.
Oh, I'm glad to be talking to you too, Alex.
It's really nice to see you. I tell you why, because you're one of those musical stars with a personality. Congratulations.
Oh, well, that's nice of you to say. Thank you. My father would agree with you.
There's an incredible amount of really, really amazingly talented people, both in the West End and on Broadway, but there aren't that many people that stick out, are there?
I think you're right about that. I think that there's something bred in somebody or that comes from when they're born or when they're growing up that makes them right to be in the live theater. It's just something that it's a gift. I like to think of myself as having that gift, being given that, and being nurtured to be on the stage. It is a different kind of performance. We hope we're always truthful and honest, but there is something about when you hit a huge stage and you're performing for 2,000 people that everybody gets what you're trying to convey, the story you're trying to tell, whether they're in the last row or the front row. And that takes a certain kind of performance.
Do you enjoy being funny? Because I got the feeling from this show, which is ridiculous from the minute it opens to the minute it ends. Do you enjoy being hysterical?
Well, I sort of set up the jokes. I'm one of the straight men who sets them up, but that's half the joke. That's very important, and I do enjoy making those work. I get a couple of giggles, but for the most part, I'm the person who helps set them up, and I love it. It's great.
I've been reading your CV and bio. It seems like you've done everything on Broadway. You've had some of the biggest roles in all the different shows. Is there anything that you've enjoyed the most, or is it just nice to be working?
It is nice to be working, and I have enjoyed some more than others, but for the most part, I find that even the shows that are not necessarily as successful as the ones that are big hits, there's always something really great you take away from it. One of the former Candor and Ebb musicals before Curtains that I did was a show called Steel Pier, which was not a successful musical. It only ran for a couple of months, but it was what we took away from it in our relationships with the people in the cast and the score that we got to sing in that show. It was just magical and really a fabulous experience, even though it was sort of a bittersweet, sad thing that it ended so quickly. But you come away with just, those building blocks of your career and of your life and of your family that you create in the theater business. So there's always something good that you take away from it, and we're really having a good time here with Curtains because this company that I'm working with now is one of the most delightful. It sounds corny, but it's the nature of the show because it's so much fun. But it's also the people. They're real seasoned performers. They're not just right out of high school. These are people that have been in this business a long time, and they just want to have a good time and want to make it the best show they can because that's why they're here and that's what they live for. So I'm really lucky to be part of this company right now.
Can you explain to me why that is? Have you learnt anything about why some succeed and some don't, regardless of whether they're any good or not?
I think shows need to be set up and need to come to fruition at the right time. It's not always... some shows should open like maybe a year later or a year before. A lot of it depends on what the competition is, what society is feeling at that moment. I remember when the revival of Chicago, which I had a chance to be part of a few years ago, opened up originally in 1996, right during the O.J. Simpson trials. It was like the perfect timing for that show. Not only was it a great show, it always had been a great show, even since the 70s when it was first written, but it was a big hit the second time around because it was spare and it was so timely about what was happening in our country. And I think a lot of it is about the feeling of society. And also, maybe it's time for a new good old-fashioned musical because we're at war right now. I mean, I think that's why Curtains is such a great show because it's very clever and funny, but it also makes you walk out of the theater singing and dancing and walking on a cloud. And that's what we need right now, even though we're not actually it's not like a world war, but it is pretty close. And so we're very detached from it, but we're also so encumbered by it at the same time. So I think a lot of it is timing. It isn't always just that it's good or bad or stinky or whatever. Let's talk about Curtains itself, because it's basically a murder mystery, which are all the great shows. Either a love story or murder mystery are the two things people seem to like. And Sex and death.
Yeah.
That's what everybody cares about.
I'd like to try either, to be honest. This show then has another level to it, where the guy comes in to solve the murder and then wants to be in show business.
Well, everybody wants to be in show business. And and also, yes, David Hyde Pierce plays this detective who is trying to solve this murder, and he also loves the theater, and so he gets very much involved in making the show better. So he's like, a pig in slop. He is just having such a great time, and he gets to sing and dance eventually, and also, solve the mystery. And we're all involved in that. So what could be better than that? Rupert Holmes has created the book, the story, that is so intertwined with so many twists and turns, and yet you get all the relationships, the romantic combinations, the murders, and they sort of all are tied up into this bow. It's amazing how deft he was at creating the story, and yet all the great songs are interpolated in there too. So it's quite an amazing show, and because of all the stuff going on at the same time, it makes it a lot of fun for us and keeps us on our toes as opposed to being bored.
For us in Britain, we seem to get a lot of C, D, E, F-list celebrities coming into these musicals to just get a name in. What I'm learning here is they seem to be slightly better chosen. Last night I saw Clay Aiken in Spamalot. Didn't get very good reviews. I thought he was fantastic, brilliant at it. It's finding the right TV stars to put in these shows, isn't it?
Yes, I think so, and they have to be willing to come up to, raise the bar for everybody else and be willing to make a fool of themselves and just be as outrageous as the next guy. And I think that those two guys probably are. And as long as they have a good cast around them, encouraging them and not looking down on them, which I think sometimes happens when you come into a cast, unless you are brought in as a real great family member, that doesn't help. You need to be surrounded. It's all about your family. It's all about the people you're with. Because for 2.5 hours every night, you want people on your side. And so, like, for example, in Curtains, we've been running now for over a year. People take vacations. People are out for injuries. I've had so many different leading men. I have 2 leading men in the show, one I dance with and one who plays my husband. And so they all have time off. So I have all these other gentlemen that come in and play my husband and play my dance partner. So I have to be there for them. So I get the best performance out of them, and they get the best performance out of me. If I'm going to sit there and go like, oh, this isn't right and that isn't right and you don't do this, that's just counterproductive. So I'm glad that, John O'Hurley, I love him too, and Clay Aiken seems like a real sweetheart. But obviously they've been very much welcomed by their cast, and I think that really helps.
And the discipline of doing comedy must be even more taxing than doing a serious play, because you've got to get those laughs out every night. You've got to set those jokes up to be knocked down in the same way. I can't imagine doing the same gag 8 times a week and trying to make it as funny every night.
I think that they're both equally difficult, a dramatic role or a comedic role. Comedy happens very quickly, though, and you cannot waste any time. You cannot let the audience get ahead of you, because they already know. They'll already figure it out, and it's not going to be as funny. You've got to get them before they get it. And so it's all about that timing that people talk about. Because believe me, the audience is smarter than we think. We should never take them for granted, even the ones that don't speak English. There's something about it. It's a look. It's a take. It's a tone of voice, and a lot of it is the delivery, and like we were saying before, the setup. Without that, it's like I know sometimes when things don't work so well, I'll get a look like, Karen, you didn't quite set that up the way I would have liked you to, and I hear about it later. So, and then you just try. Luckily, we have another chance to try it that night or the next day.
Everybody's a critic, aren't they?
Absolutely, especially if it's their laugh they're not getting.
And what about the matinees?
I like our matinees for Curtains because the people come from, obviously, off their buses or wherever they're from brunch. They haven't had 3 cocktails. They're paying attention. It's a good time of the day. 2:00. It's before tea time, so they still have some. They're still got some caffeine in their system from the morning. I don't know, but I like our matinees a lot, and they're usually very full. So somebody's doing a good job on group sales, I guess, with our show, because I think it's a perfect show for that, because it's good for all ages. And so I like our matinees, and I'm also awake too. Sometimes doing the second show, like on a Wednesday night, that's tough. You really got to, do your stretches and, shake yourself around to wake up. But for us, the matinees really work.
And at least you're keeping Starbucks in business, I suppose.
That's right. Got to have that caffeine fix.
Congratulations on this show, and congratulations on being you. When you read some of the roles you've done in Chicago, big anthemic roles, it must be a thrill to look down your CV now and see everything you've done.
Yeah, it is amazing. I had somebody interview me a couple of weeks ago that said, and then you did Buppity Buppity Boo, and I was like, gosh, you really did your research. I forgot about that show.
Which show was Bippity Boppity Boo in?
Bippity Boppity Boo was a show I did that was also not a very successful show called Teddy and Alice, based on, it was a story about Alice Roosevelt and her dad, Teddy Roosevelt. And the character I played was Ida Tarbell, who was like, not a press secretary, but she was sort of in the court, so to speak, and a female at the turn of the century. So it was unusual, but she was a great writer. And I said, you played Ida Tarbell and Teddy and Alice. He's like, oh my God, that was her name. That's right.
We'll wait for that one to come to the West End.
That's right.
Congratulations on being you. You're remarkable. It's a great show as well. Curtains is one of those unique things where it's actually funny and entertaining and serious and clever at the same time. It's quite hard to make that balance, isn't it, in a show? I think a lot try and a lot fail. Yes,
but like we were talking about, our cast they really know what they're doing and they enjoy it, and we love having playtime here for a couple hours every day, along with it's hard work, but we like to think of it as like kind of going off into our own little world of recess. It's fun.
And I suppose silliness has to be taken quite seriously, doesn't it?
Silliness is serious business.
Thank you for talking to me. Karen Ziemba's on at the Al Hirschfeld Theatre, is that right?
Hirschfeld.
Hirschfeld.
As in the famous caricaturist, artist, illustrator.
And it took me about 3 weeks to find the theatre because I kept walking through the same strip of Broadway, and it's just to the left. If only I'd have looked.
Yeah, got to cross 8th Avenue. Got to go to the seedy part of town.
Yeah, exactly. You'll find all kinds of interesting things on this part of the street. Thanks for talking to me, and congratulations on Curtains that's here on Broadway.
Thanks, Alex.
The Alex Belfield In Conversation podcast with daisymedia.co.uk. Alex Belfield.